ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण। So we are very fortunate to be able to glorify Sri Radhakund, and I feel extremely humbled to have this opportunity to be amongst all of you on this very auspicious day. The teachers of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, our past acharyas, they have informed us of the great contribution of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In fact, they have sung that if it had not been for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then the world would have never known of the supreme nature of the love that the greatest of all devotees, Srimati Radharani, has for Sri Krishna. That would have been hidden. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is most revered by all of us. And it is fitting that we glorify this particular day in the month of Kartik as the appearance day of Sri Radhakund, because it was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who revealed Radhakund for all of the generations to come about 540 years ago. It was on this tithi that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed Sri Radhakund. That is how we celebrate the appearance day for the appearance of Radhakund on this Krishna Ashtami. So every month, according to the calendar, every month has two Ashtamis. The 8th day of the waxing and waning moon. Ashtami means the 8th day. So this is Bahulashtami. Basically, it is the 8th day of the waning moon. So Krishna Ashtami. What Krishna Ashtami? Kartik Krishna Ashtami or Damodar Krishna Ashtami. So according to the Vaishnav calendar, the Hindu calendar, the present month is the month of Kartik, the month of Damodar. In various places in the Puranas, it has already been stated that one who worships Sri Radhakund, devotees of Sri Radhakund, and has darshan of the form of Sri Radhakund, the form of this ambrosial waters, or is fortunate to receive some drops of Sri Radhakund on one's physical body, or even if one remembers Sri Radhakund on this 8th day of the waning moon in the month of Kartik, then one gets pure love of Krishna. So the Puranas already have stated that. Then how do we understand that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed Radhakund to this world? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this world about 540 years ago. According to the Gregorian calendar, 1486 was his appearance. So what had happened was, according to the biography of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, had finally made his most desired journey to Vrindavan. He spent about 3 to 4 months in Vrindavan. So he had come just at the beginning of the monsoon season in India, which was about Ashad, July, August. And he stayed in Vrindavan through November, December. The Mathura Mandal. So after seeing various forests like Talavan, Bahulavan, Pandiravan, etc., and spending a lot of time by the banks of the river Yamuna at Akrura Ghat, which was his favorite spot, one of his favorite spots, and Imlita. On this particular day, about 500 years ago, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Giriraj. From Akrura Ghat, he traveled to, or from Vrindavan, he traveled to Sri Govardhan. Today, Govardhan is about 18 kilometers, like 10 miles, 11 miles away from the town, Vrindavan town. So he walked. And when he was very close to the holy mountain, Giriraj, he became very excited. He was so anxious to see the form of Giriraj. So he came to a village. The name of that village was Aritagra. The local people would call it Aritagra. Now, if you would look into the government books, wherever the collectors, the name of the town was registered as Arishtagra. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there, he asked, "What is this town?" They said, Aritagra. He was very happy. And then he asked them the question, "Where is Radhakund?" And they are like, "What? What is that?" Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he realized that people had somehow or the other, the residents of the village had somehow or the other lost connection with the name Radhakund. So he had his associate who would also be serving him, his servant Balbhadra Bhattacharya, and one very kind and humble Brahmana from Mathura, the Shanodia Brahmana. These were his two associates. His two associates saw that Lord Chaitanya was in great anxiety. Now, in those days, there was no internet, no smartphones. So you couldn't like go onto Google or look at maps, ways, put in the coordinates. Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Lord, so he knows exactly. So like someone possessed by divine emotions, he went out of the village into the fields. And the monsoon season had just about gotten over. It was more of the Sharad season now. Autumn had almost, now in India, autumn is, according to the Indian seasons, autumn lasts for just 2.5 to 3 months. In India, there are 6 seasons, so autumn is just 2 seasons, like 2 months. It lasts only for 2 months. So autumn had passed and now Shishira had come in. Shishira is the winter season. So the paddy fields in Vrindavan and around Aritagram, where they had these huge paddy plants standing in the fields. Here, some states you get to see wheat growing or corn growing. If you have had the experience of being in India amongst paddy fields, you feel like an ant in a forest. It's very thick. He went into those paddy fields and his associates were like, all right, you just follow him. So they followed him. And somewhere in the middle of the fields, he found a small puddle of water. Just a puddle. And he entered that. It was like just knee deep at the most. And he was so ecstatic, he was so happy. So the people, the villagers who were there in the paddy fields, they started shouting out to each other that this sannyasi has gone crazy. Sometimes devotees try to imagine that it would be nice to be crazy on the banks of Radhakund. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was really very happy. And he said, this is Radhakund. So the local villagers, they came there and they were, what has happened to this sannyasi? Someone said. This pastimes are revealed in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur has also commented on the pastime. Sorry, in the Bhakti Ratnakar, there is more elaboration on this pastime. Chakravarti Thakur has commented on the pastime of Harishdasur. So we'll get there too. Right now we are with Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is trying to take his dip in a puddle of water in the middle of the paddy fields, and the water is like just knee deep, maybe up to his waist. Now sometimes when we have certain feelings, emotions, especially devotional sentiments, then we do things that appear crazy to people. Like many devotees, very good-natured devotees. They come to the airport to receive somebody who's saffron clad and they offer full dandavats. So people around are, do they need the EMT or? So devotees do that because they are overwhelmed by certain sentiments. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was overwhelmed. The villagers couldn't understand it. Some of them thought that the sannyasi is behaving a little weird. Somebody else thought that maybe the sannyasi doesn't realize that he is in a puddle or is in this muddy water. Another one said, I think this is not a sannyasi. Another few said, yeah, we also agree because sannyasis follow protocols. But there were others who looked at him and said, why? Why don't you think that he's a sannyasi? He said, I don't think he's a sannyasi. I don't even think that he's an ordinary person. I think he's Krishna. Because come in this form. And I have praman, I have proof. Just look at all the birds of Braj. They're all chirping happily and they're all flying towards him as if they're welcoming him. And look at all the cows and all the deer. They're all looking at him with such love in their eyes. This must be Krishna. So they asked, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu looked around and there was another small puddle. The local people would call one puddle Kali and the other one Gauri. So one was Kali Kund, the other was Gauri Kund. And since generations they had been calling it Kali Kund and Gauri Kund. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said Kali Kund is Radhakund, Gauri Kund is Shyama Kund. And after that, after having his holy dip, he took the mud from that puddle, from the pond, the wet mud, and he applied it on the different parts of his body as tilak. How did Sri Radhakund manifest? Now Radhakund is always manifest because Giriraj is always manifest. Jigarga Samhita explains that when Lord Krishna wanted to come and incarnate here, incarnate is not a good word. Appear. So he wanted to appear in this material world. He asked Radharani, I think let's go on a date to this material world. So Radharani said, well, if I go on a date, then I come with my associates. So I want Shri Giriraj and Yamuna to come along with me. So Krishna said, well, I've already invited them. So Girirajji had come, and along with Girirajji, Radhakund and Shyama had also appeared. However, they were in aprakata form. Aprakata means only when Radha and Krishna would perform their pastimes away from the mortal eyes, then Radhakund and Shyama would participate, but they would facilitate those pastimes. Finally, Krishna wanted to reveal Radhakund and Shyama to the world. And how did it get revealed? The 10th canto reveals that, explains. The 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Shukadeva Goswami says, Kansa had really bet on a lot of his WWF and WWE people. Like he had really his wrestlers, his stalwart fighters. Not only had they been defeated, but they had been put out of service. They had kind of lost their lives. So Kansa would not give up, King Kansa. So he sent Arishtasura. Now most of these asuras, they had some weird, like attraction towards existing in other forms, other species forms. Someone existed, would love to have a form of a donkey, someone loved to have the form of a snake. Like really, if you think from a present day perspective, they really needed to go and see a shrink. They had this multiple personality disorder, I guess. So this Aristasura, he loved existing as a bull. So he came to Vrindavan. According to the Vishnu Puran, he came at twilight time. During twilight, Vrindavan being a village with a lot of cows, the cows coming back from the pasturing grounds raises a dust storm. It's not a storm actually, but a dust scream. Right before sunset, that is called as the Godhuri time. So he decided to come at that moment, hiding behind the dust screen. So at twilight, he came. He started roaring. He was huge. The Srimad Bhagavatam explains that his head was in the clouds. And the clouds becoming confused, especially with his hump. They thought that this is a mountain peak. Clouds gather around mountain peaks. So the clouds confused his hump to be a mountain peak. So his hump was kind of not visible from ground level. Sharp horns, bellowing like a mad bull, digging up the earth, stomping the earth. With his horns, he was digging up mud and he was trying to rip apart the banks of the Yamuna. He was like so antagonistic towards Krishna. He wanted to destroy everything that gave Krishna comfort or gave Krishna pleasure. I mean, inanimate objects, that is what he was trying to do. He was seriously, he had some issues, mental issues. You know, like when you get really pumped up and you hit the wall, there's something wrong happening there. So this is Aristasura doing that. And then he looked around and he looked at all the cowards people, the cowards men and women there, the gopas and the gopis. And he made such frightful sounds and he wanted to scare them. So he looked at them so fiercely that some of them, they fell down unconscious. Through word of mouth, Krishna's intranet services, through word of mouth, he received the news. So he was with his friend Subal. He told Subal, let's go. So he reached that spot. Now that happened to be close to Giriraj. He looked at him and he said, "You dumb bull, why are you tearing up the earth? Why are you crushing the vegetation and scaring people? If you have so much prowess, why don't you stand in front of me? I challenge you." And after saying that very nonchalantly, Krishna, he put his left hand on Subal's shoulder and leaned against him as if he didn't care who Aristasura was. Now already Aristasura has some issues and then he is challenged by somebody who appears to be like a midget in front of him and has so much attitude. Now if you're not doing well mentally and at the same time you still have the facility, your intelligence still has the facility to see somebody's arrogance, that's a lot of trouble that we can be in. Aristasura became so crazy, his eyes became bloodshot. He rushed towards Krishna with his horns drawn facing Krishna. His sharp horns, this huge animal. His tail was raised up in the sky, and now the clouds are confused with the tail. They are like hovering around the tail, the tip of the tail. That is how huge he was. He rushed towards little Krishna. Krishna grabbed his horse and gave him a push. He went back 18 steps, about 6 yards. He was pushed back 6 yards. And when he was pushed back 6 yards, he became all the more angry. Again rushed towards Krishna. This time Krishna held him by the horns and he hit his head. He kind of pushed his head to the earth, to the ground, put his foot on his neck and crushed him. The bull was trying to get out of Krishna's grasp. So then Krishna, he did what we call in India as dhobi pachad. It's a move that a wrestler makes. Dhobi pachad, dhobi means a washerman, and pachad means when a washerman, in the old days, the washerman would take a thick piece of cloth that he needs to clean and kind of with both his hands raise it above his head and bang it on a piece of rock. That is called as dhobi pachad. So he grabbed Harishnasur, this huge demon. The clouds are still trying to wonder what to do with his tail, that demon. And he picked him up like a piece of cloth and banged him to the earth. Well, Harishnasur had a lot of contamination within him, his heart, so he needed a few more bangs, a few more hits like that. So he was again done. And by this time, his blood, his vessels, all his nostrils and ears are kind of bleeding and very painful. And then finally Krishna releases him from his misery, gives him liberation. So that's the end of Krishna. So Krishna is kind of, okay, Subha, let's go. So all of his friends and his village people, they are looking for opportunities to glorify him. So they immediately come up with singing songs, glorifying him, dancing. Everyone's forgotten that Harishnasur had come, and his presence had made them feel so fearful, scared, and they're practically fallen unconscious. They're like, okay, there was some Harishnasur, it's gone. It's like somebody waking up from a very bad dream. After you wake up, oh, it was just a dream. So they are very happy, they are celebrating. Krishna tells Subal, Subal, I think it's time to go somewhere else. Where was that? To meet with the cowherd girls. The Sharad Ritu, the autumn season, it was like in its final stages. So the evenings were still very, very enchanting. So he said, let me go and meet up with the girls. So he goes up to meet the cowherd girls, the gopis. Radhakund says, tells one of his associates, tell him to stop right there. So he stopped at a distance. He's like, what did I do? Radhakund says, you are a sinner. How is that? Prabhupada writes, this is how Prabhupada in his Krishna book he says, you killed a male cow. Now Gohatya is really looked down upon. Bail Hatya is not heard about. Bail means bull. Go is cow. So Prabhupada says that the cowherd girls, they point out that he had just killed a male cow. Go Hatya. Krishna says, Do you even know that that wasn't a cow? That was a person having issues, mental issues, identity problems, lived dual life. That was Arishtasur. Radharani said, well, whatever he was, still it was the form of a cow or a bull. Well, we are ready to forgive you, provided you do prayashchitta. You do atonement. So Krishna understands, okay, this is some transaction is going to happen here. So he says, all right, what atonement should I do? They tell him, you should go to every single holy place, holy tirtha in the entire universe and take your bath in the holy waters. Krishna said, why do I need to go? They're like, all right, then how are you going to get purified? He said, I'll call all of them here. So Krishna calls all of the holy places to that spot. And the gopis, they stand with their hands on their hips like, you expect us to believe you? Like these are all holy places? They don't even look like holy places, holy tirthas. You expect us to believe you? How do we know who they are? So Krishna told each of the holy places to reveal their identity. So somebody said, hey, I am the Lavana Sagar, I am the salt ocean. Somebody said, I am the Dugdha Sagar, I am the ocean of milk. Someone else said, I am the river Godavari. Somebody else said, I am Prayagraj, the confluence of the three rivers. Unlimited personalities revealed their identities to the gopis. A simple coward girl, now they are intimidated. Like, okay, what if this is true? So Krishna just, all right, all of you, here, let me create a place for you. You jump in, and I will take my holy dip in the waters and the combined form of all of your holy waters, and then I'll be pure. And then I can interact with the gopis. So he digs his heel. First, he stomps the earth with his heel, and then he kind of digs it in and makes a little hole. And all of the holy waters enter into that. And a beautiful lake is formed. And Krishna takes his bath in that lake, or takes his dip in that lake. He comes out and says, there I did what you told me to do, so I've done my atonement. Now can I talk with you? Radharani says, no. I don't think so. Krishna says, doesn't it appear that you all are very arrogant? Radharani says, really? Krishna says, yeah, but I'm okay with that, you know. What I want is that you should get purified of this arrogance by taking your dip in the holy waters of my lake. And Radharani says, we are not doing that. But yeah, if you say that we are arrogant and we need to prove ourselves as being very decent people, then we'll create our own lake, fill it up with purified water, and take our bath in it in Krishna. Within himself is thinking, I am God, I can do that. What can she do? So Radharani, she says, I'm not even going to do it the way you did it. She calls upon her millions of friends, and they break their bangles. And with their bangles, they start digging up the earth at the very spot where Arishtasur's hooves had dug in. So they used that, and they dug up more, and they made a beautiful depression. And then, about a mile away, was the holy and beautiful Manasi Ganga, and they got water from there. They made a human chain and they got water from there. Krishna started crying. He said, please, please, please. Seeing you so fatigued and perspiring is breaking my heart. Please let the waters of my lake enter the depression that you've created. I said, no ways. So Krishna then looked at all the holy tirthas and he told them, you please make her understand. So they all elected one leader who represented them, and the leader came up to Radharani and with tears in his eyes, he said, your glories cannot be fathomed, understood by anyone in this creation. Only Krishna can understand your glories, and therefore he is always eager to serve your lotus feet. He is always eager to please you. We beg you that we can render some service unto you. Please allow us to fill up your lake. Radharani saw their sincerity and she agreed, and the water from Shyamakund, the lake that Krishna had created, it breached one of the walls and entered into the hole that the gopis had made. And then Krishna said, this lake, which was created by you, is very dear to me. This lake shall be Radhakund, and anyone who takes bath in this lake, takes a holy dip in this lake, will attain a love for me. And Radharani said that the lake that you have created, Shyamakund, is very dear to me, and anyone who takes their dip in that lake shall attain eternal service unto you. And then they had their beautiful pastime. So this happened according to the Vishnu Puran, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chakravarti Thakur. What did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu do? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after taking his holy bath, he sat under a tamala tree on the banks of the lake and he started chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And today, if you go to Shyamakund, you'll find that holy tamal tree right there. Some years after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's disappearance, a great two devotees of the name Srinivas Acharya and Narottam Das Thakur, they were on a tour of Vrindavan along with Raghava Pandit. And they came to Aritagra. And they were hearing the glories of Radhakund and Shyamakund. And then they said, well, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had discovered it as puddles, but today we see that they are big lakes. How did that happen? He said, oh, that is by the efforts of Dasa Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami would sit here on the banks of Radhakund and chant the holy names of the Lord and meditate on the pastimes of the Lord. One day a thought came within his head. This lake is not very easily accessible and it does not have very good guards. So if people want to come and take the mercy of Srimati Radharani in this ambrosial form, it would be so difficult. I wish that I could do some development here. And as soon as the thought came within his mind, being very renounced, he felt that he was being distracted. So he went to do tapasya. He went into solitary meditation. And he was feeling very, very concerned that his mind was distracted towards material development programs or plans. That very moment, when he was in the evening meditating in a solitary place, a devotee had gone to the Himalayas to offer worship to Lord Badrinath, Badri Vishal. And he took rest there at Badrinath Dham. In the night, Badri Vishal appeared in his dream and he told him that, I know that you have come to offer a very large donation unto me. I want you to take that donation and go to Vrindavan and especially go to Giriraj, to Aritagram, and there you will find a saint of the name Raghunath Das Goswami and give him all of this money. He will not accept it from you. So you tell him about the thought that he had for the development of Radhakund and Shyamakund. And that is what transpired. Raghunath Das Goswami, he was very happy that the Lord had considered his desire or taken into consideration his desire. So he asked that wealthy merchant and a devotee to excavate the area around this lake, around the small puddle. And a beautiful lake, quadrangular lake was developed, formed. However, the next night or several nights later, as the excavation was taking place, Yudhishthir Maharaj, one of the Pandavas, he appeared to Raghunath Das Goswami in a state of, let's say, inspired sleep. Raghunath Das Goswami was rarely asleep. So this was one of those states where he was asleep. And Yudhishthir Maharaj he appeared and he said, we are existing here on the banks of Shyamakund in the form of trees, meditating on the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Please don't cut us down. So Dasa Goswami goes to that Manas Pavana Ghat, it is called as, that section of Shyamakund. And there he identifies these 5 trees. Today we just have one of the trees, the stump remaining. Identifies these 5 trees and he tells the excavators to change direction. And therefore Shyamakund is not exactly quadrangular. It is not in the form of a square. It has 3 sides of a quadrangle and one of its sides is at an angle. It is a slanting. And Dasa Goswami would sit there and he would chant. One day, as he was chanting, a tiger came up to the lake to drink water. Sanatana Goswami saw that and told Dasa Goswami, you should not do bhajan in the open. You should have 4 walls protecting you. Otherwise, who knows about tigers? Well, the tiger had just come to take some association, I guess. And anyways, Sanatana Goswami was concerned for Dasa Goswami. And Dasa Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, since then did his meditation and his chanting in what is called as a bhajana kutir. And today, if you go to Radhakund, you'll see they have tried to maintain that bhajana kutir still there. So there are so many beautiful activities, pastimes that have happened around Radhakund. We are grateful to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that on this particular day, he revealed Radhakund to all of us. And we celebrate this day as the appearance day of Sri Radhakund. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So, any suggestions, clarifications, comments? Yes.
Thank you for the very nice description of the last night. Prabhuji, let's read next instruction. Can you let's explain about, I think there's one of the verses which says the glories of Radhakund as one of the highest.
So you want me to read the verse?
No, you can just not just explain to us whatever.
I think it is mantra 10 or 11 of Nectar of Instruction, wherein Rupa Goswami describes that of the entire universe, the earth planet is very auspicious. And on the earth planet, the tract of land known as Mathura is more auspicious. In Mathura, Giriraj is the greatest. And in the area of this auspicious mountain Giriraj, the lake of Radhakund is the highest, because this lake is not different than Srimati Radharani. Just as Srimati Radharani is the most dedicated servant of Krishna, and she is the very embodiment of pure affection for Krishna. So is her lake, and therefore this lake is not different. It is Srimati Radharani in liquefied form. It is not different than Srimati Radharani. So that is the pinnacle of understanding of Krishna conscious service. and existence in Krishna consciousness. Yes. Thank you for reminding us of that. Yes.
Hare Krishna. When the Radhakund was invented and the water from the Shamkund came to Radhakund. So basically, the all Tirthas, the purified water from all the other places. Now you have the same water, but you have more importance to Radhakund than Shamkund. Why is that?
Gaudiya Vaishnavas are biased towards Radharani. Krishna himself, according to the scriptures, he declared that anyone who worships Radhakund and who takes a holy dip in Radhakund, he would immediately offer him pure love. So since all of us, we are very greedy for pure love, and we are all baniyas, we are all spiritual merchants, traders, so we take Krishna's deal. This is just my little bit of quirkiness. All the holy tirthas were there in Shyamakund, and Krishna had already taken his bath in Shyamakund. So it is Krishna plus his transcendental attributes plus all the holy tirthas that is coming into Radhakund. So that is my.
Millions and millions of people go on the Radhakund, take a dip there. But there is no other special day to take a dip in the Shamkund.
It's the same day. Both of the kunds appeared on the same day, on Bahulashtami. So, think Chakravarti Thakur, he says that twilight time Arishtasura arrives. So that goes on for about 3/4 of a prahara. So let's say about 2 hours there's a fight. Arishtasura is liberated. So then Krishna is told to get all the holy tirthas and take his bath. So that entire discussion and the conversation and finally Krishna agreeing, that takes about another hour, one muhurta actually, a little more than a muhurta. So another hour passed in that. Then after Krishna takes his bath and then he has another conversation with Srimati Radharani, they start digging up and they make the human chain or they make the gopi chain to Manasaganga. That takes about another 2 hours. So by the time Radhakund was formed, the waters from Shyamakund, they breached the wall and entered Radhakund. It was about midnight. So Radhakund's appearance is celebrated at midnight, and that is the time everyone takes bath in Radhakund. The Vaishnavas, they follow a particular protocol. They first take their dip in Radhakund, then they come and take their dip in Shyamakund, and then again Radhakund. And then the ritual is complete. Also, Srila Prabhupada has told us that various ways. Once he says Krishna is like the father and Radharani is like the mother. Mother is more affectionate. So we approach the mother and we approach Radhakund. And philosophically, the energy of the Lord is what infuses us with the resources needed to serve Krishna. So Radharani represents the energy of the Lord. Radhakund represents her. So hence Radhakund has a special place amongst the devotees. I cannot say that Radhakund, I cannot exactly say that Radhakund is higher than Shyamakund, because that statement I have not read anywhere. But obviously Radhakund being the highest has been given by, that statement has been given by Rupa Goswami. So very, I guess, very intelligently, he hasn't mentioned anything about Shyamakund. Thank you for asking the question. Anything else? So let's stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Bahulashtami Mahatithi ki jai. Shri Radhakund Avirbhav Tithi ki jai. Srimati Radharani ki jai. Jai Jai Shri Radhe Shyam. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. It was very nice lecture. We really enjoyed the whole story.